something to note.
I suppose there isn't any recent history between these two teams in particular on this map. Nothing to really go off of there.
They've literally never played each other on Nuke before, and that
Well,
dates back to October 21. So there
Wow.
you go. It's been a while. Anyway, ladies and gents, I do believe we're ready to head into the action. A map that has not been played between these two sides on HLTV just yet. It's Nuke. It's picked by ITB. It's time to jump into the action.
Yeah, a little bit of unknown territory between these two teams. I like that. That always adds a little bit of spice, a little bit of extra stakes to it. So let's jump on in as Endpoint start their CT side here. Well, some pretty standard setups as well, looking to catch a lot of these ITB players off guard. ITB not going for the standard kind of lobby play, but instead posturing over towards ramp here. They're going to force Thomas right off of his angle. MHL with the cross, not able to get much done, and that is a free push from ITB down to the B site.
Thomas, okay. Good 2 kills. Wondering if there's any more for this Endpoint side. I mean, Dobbo's finally taken out of the round. Draken finds one with a USP, so a post plant at least, so a bomb plant. A minimum now for ITB to work with. They'll be forcing in the next. The question is, can they make this post plant stick? No kit for the Endpoint side, so they need to get a move on. Spamming away, having a good look. Draken caught off completely. Adam against 3. MHL will have him taken down. And there you have it. It is indeed a first on the board for Endpoint. Fine margins here without the kit, but they do get it done.
Yeah. Thankfully, we do have a bomb plant for ITB. It was a good approach. They do manage to get in quite quickly on... guys, just if you are confused, we are going to refresh the HUD. There is a mini-map visual bug happening. There you go. We'll get that sorted out for you guys after these replays. But yeah, so pistol round can be a really, really important one. Of course, going the way of Endpoint. We spoke about how important the momentum is and how good Endpoint are at creating that for themselves. ITB, at the very least, going to be able to spend a bit of cash into this round off the back of the bomb plant. The scout coming out for Draken, and this is one of the players we said really needed to come online.
Well, you know, ITB with a bomb plant saves them financially. I was hoping for something a little more pacey because, of course, you've got like Mat 10s, Deagles, Tech 9s. It's not exactly long, drawn-out engagements. Maybe the Scout is the only gun that has that sort of exception. We'll see. They do indeed go for a fast A play. Just waited a second for the CT utility to burn away. Mighty Max gets one with the fadeaway on the MP9. Nertz will find a second, blinding his teammate there, Max, but he's still trying to create disruption. Dobbo's going to get taken down. There was knives drawn out on the site. No one to slice down their opposition. And Adam's Tech 9 left against 3, and MHL will put a stop to it before any damage is done. And a second round on the board for Endpoint.
I think one of the shining moments for Endpoint is just how well they're able to make sense of chaos. I mean, that round, there was so much happening. Mollies came out, the smokes to deny a lot of the sightlines, and they were able to maintain composure through all of it. And of course, it helps that Nertz gets a couple of kills for himself, and the follow-up kills do come through. But it's an important characteristic for a team that is, as we know, kind of reaching for that tier 1 position to have. And that's one of the reasons that they've been such a strong contender for quite some time. We'll see if that'll continue to aid them as now they find themselves in a very strong anti-eco against ITB.
Yeah. Don't know about that one, Nertz. Just kind of, I guess, caught like in the overextension. It's not ideal. 4v5, I mean, at least they've only given away an MP7, you know? It wasn't exactly like a rifle, like a premium M4 that they've just chucked into the hands of the T side. Ultimately, Endpoint can deal with working from a 4v5. We'll just see if they can let anything stick back. MHL certainly does deliver. Nice shot with the A4. Now, Thomas, eyes on you, my friend. Can you get any damage done on ramp? Well, inter-mag transfer in between the possession. He's kind of like gone to one, done some damage, flicked up, killed one, come back down, killed the other. Why not, fella? You got the 2 kills anyway. Draken left alone. ENDSurreal will have his head taken off. MP9 cashing in on the extra $1,200. But, of course, ITB get to move forward to the rifles.
That's it, right? This could be a momentum shifter for them. Now they're going to actually have some solid weaponry to bring into this next round. And while for the most part, Endpoint have really had this map on lock, this could be the difference maker. Oh, okay. Draken buying into the AWP here. I'm curious on this one. Like I mentioned, right, he's had a bit of a quiet one. It's quite an investment. And on Nuke on the T side, it can be a little difficult to leverage. A lot of close angles to try and work around, particularly when you're attempting to move forward. So I'll be curious to see if that actually does net results. As Endpoint have a pretty good control of the map here. A little bit of eyes towards outside, but for the most part, there's a heavy presence towards A.
Surreal donating his smoke to the fellow Britishman for Endpoint. I know there's going to be someone in Twitch chat that goes, well, Thomas is on the team. He's not playing for Endpoint. He's standing in. There's a difference. I promise you, there'll be someone out there that tries to make the funny joke. Very slow, though, right now. A minute left on the clock. Outside pressure kind of being used here by ITB. Did throw the second smoke to make Endpoint think maybe, oh, we missed the... Whoa, guys. That's one dink potential. Nerds welcomes that in. There's your first, there's your second, not quite the third. But the damage is done. Information picked up.
Oh, slight misplay there. So ITB start trying to maneuver their way in towards that B site at a bit of a player disadvantage here. They were really hoping Endpoint would take a bit more aggression into outside for Draken to get an early 1 kill. But Endpoint not going to take that bait. Now Draken posturing towards doors there. Does manage to get the door open, but if he tries to peek, he's going to be in danger. Oh, clips the ankle. But it's down to only 2 players left alive. Draken's good for 1, but there is a trade coming through. Last player left alive. He gets taken down. No bomb plant. That's a rough round for ITB.
Yeah. Don't even think the AWP investment was a bad one at the end of the day. I think it was Draken that actually found some success with it.
Yeah.
Everyone else kind of couldn't do their part. I think the push towards lower, as soon as you run through the molly, like, if Cypher's committed, they've just got to full send it, because as soon as you hit the tick, like, Nertz is in position where he's going to have heard it, you know he's on the other side of the molly. Now it's just about, you know, getting ready to push mouse 1, and even then, okay, Thomas, unlucky, it happens. I don't know, you just give away the surprise factor of that rush towards Secret by going through the molly. I don't know, anyway. Endpoint 4-0 up, CT side of Nuke. It's looking as promising as we said it would be in the pregame.
This round in particular doesn't look terribly promising for ITB. Very little to work with here. So we're going to see the aggressive play in on towards the A site. A lot of that early utility coming out. Mollies to push off of angles. But, well, it is to be expected that this does go fairly handedly in Endpoint's favor. ITB at the very least able to take a couple of guns away. If you can make it a third, nah, not to be. Try to keep it expensive, but that is Endpoint at 5 rounds. We saw this on Ancient. We know how devastating this momentum can be for Endpoint into the breach. Something's got to give here.
Well, I guess that round wasn't like full capacity, full buy every,
for sure.
You know, every sort of extremity. In now you're on, you know, your AKs, armors, your util. More importantly, right? Nuke is a very util heavy map. 3 smokes basically for any execute towards outside. You need, well, in an ideal world, 2 or 3 smokes once you end up on B, just for the post plant to isolate some of these angles. It's just one of those maps. Even A, right? You've got to smoke main. Sometimes people opt to smoke heaven instead of molly it. Maybe you want to smoke hut or squeaky in the post plant. You know, smokes are very important. Util in general is very important on Nuke. So to bring it out now in full force, this is the true test for ITB. Need to start scoring some rounds, as you said, though, because it will look a lot like Ancient if they're not careful.
Yeah. Nice little bit of util to come out there. Just to disrupt Endpoint a little bit. Nertz, however, is able to survive and get himself into a nice position near that vent. So in a bit of a sneaky spot should someone come past. But ITB moving for the outside play now. Some good smokes to come through to try and cover their cross. MHL is suspicious. He has a feeling. But of course, no sights. So he's not able to connect. He does spot out 1. So should be able to give that information across as ITB. Some of their players make their way in towards Secret. 2 of them have remained behind, and that's with the bomb as well. Bit of an interesting play here as Dobbo is going to go down very, very early on in the round. This is weird. Is it just me? This seems weird.
No, sometimes people like doing the A-Rap. I think just the lack of lobby control is what's the alarming factor to me. Because if ITB commit, then it'll have to be a main Heaven split. And it seems to be Cypher's trying to provide a little bit of support from Heaven. Which, you know, is always nice. Rusty's there to assist. No way does he slide up the ladder. Oh, please don't. Okay. No worries. No one's decided to go for the silent push, though. If Rusty opts to, Thomas should have a couple of kills instead. I like this. They're going ramp. They're going to go to B. One player's gone down secret. Nertz has kind of caught Draken off. But now, of course, they just pull the pin on it completely. And there's only one player to try and defend this site. It's Nertz against the lot.
They've done this before. It hasn't always worked out. And with Nertz managing to take down Cypher, you say Nertz against the lot. It is Nertz. However, he is traded out. 2 players left alive here. Bomb does get planted, which is massive. 2 versus 2 here. Both players posturing to move through these double doors, and this crossfire is held quite nicely. They move up. Oh, that's a bit of fake util. They're going to come towards doors again. ITB seem to be wise to it. One pushes through. It's instantly traded out, but now it's all down to Adam. And finally, ITB are going to get themselves around on the board here. This was a... It started out weird, but the ending was pretty damn good.
Well, important that we said that they get a first on the board. They do deliver. Now, of course, it's just about what do they do off the back of it, right? Is it going to be 4, 5, 6 rounds in a row? Do we start to talk about a competitive T-side from ITB? Because, you know, sometimes momentum can be a bit patchy. You know, if they only get a single round, money won't be looking too good. I mean, Dobbo and Cypher are really the only players that can afford any weaponry in the next round should they lose. So you're just caught in a bit of limbo right now. You need ITB to double down and deliver on both channels, on both lanes. At the same time, you know, if they do that, Endpoint's money's starting to look a little worse for wear as well. Considering they won the first 5, the fact that their economy could be wiped in 2 is always scary.
I mean, ITB themselves not looking great economically. Draken just on a deagle. It's not a great spot, even though they won that last round, right? It was way too expensive. A little bit of util comes out into lobby. That does draw a lot of Endpoint's aggression, but of course, it is just a little bit of a fake. They pull back a bit, throw some smokes into outside, try and draw some attention there as well. Keep Endpoint guessing, keep them on their toes, so they're not 100% sure of where the play is going to be. Seems like it will be an A hit, as that's where the bomb is at the very least, but oh, if Dobbo dies here, that's bomb. So he's in a pretty precarious spot, so he needs to make sure not to overly push out here or get caught out.
Very slow round here from ICB, leaving it to the final minute, so cooking up this round a lot. Dependent on this utility to isolate a fight, a counter molly lobbed in by Surreal, and that's just going to delay the hut and squeaky push even more. The main pressure, however, could amalgamate to a frag. Max is just so blind. Adam dinked up. Surreal's found his way into hut though. If MHL can just hold on, the bait and switch could be good, but Surreal just peeks, and a bit of mistiming will cost him his life, and ultimately the round is Thomas nowhere to help this A site hold, and probably just a save for the A1S.
Seems like this is ITB's kind of recipe for success. It's the second round where they've made an interesting pivot. Not necessarily kind of mid-round they'd been going somewhere and changed direction, which is more or less what they did in the previous round. But in this one, they use a lot of that util to set up lurks, and it does leave a little bit of confusion into Endpoint. They're not 100% sure of where this is going to be, because a lot of the information is starved. The utility comes out, but they don't spot a lot of players, so there isn't 100% certainty of where the push is going to be. The lurk gets set up, and that is essentially the recipe for success, because once the utility starts coming through lobby, Endpoint are like, all right, cool, it's a lobby push. Player that's on the lurk gets completely unchecked, and from that, Endpoint just kind of collapse inward. So that was a solid round from ITB, and it seems like keeping Endpoint guessing is the road to victory. However, it has only been 2 rounds, and if there's a team that's going to be able to figure it out and counter-strat on the fly, it's going to be Endpoint. They're taking the pause now. They've realized this is how ITB have been playing, and we may just see a change-up in how they respond to these executes.
Yes. Thomas saving, everyone else probably on an eco. Maybe Nertz is going to bring out like Deagle half armor. Other than that, as you said, right, this is a chance for ITB to close the gap. But more importantly, this timeout needs to be used for Endpoint to kind of talk about what are ITB doing on the T side. How have they just won the last 2 rounds? How have they kind of plucked us apart in this sense? We'll have to act upon it in the next. For the now, it's just an eco. As you can see, Nertz has just gone for the D half armor. And MHO actually going to get top 1 by Thomas as well. Other than that, it's a pretty bog standard round, and it should be in the name of ITB here, round number 8.
ITB need to not bottle this. That sounds terrible, but there have been a few rounds where they clearly had the upper hand and things just did not go in their favor. Realistically, they should have an advantage into this one, and there you go. First kill of the round will go in their favor. But there you go, traded back so quickly. The USPSs are so good. The upgrade comes through.
On.
And now it's 2 rifles available for Endpoint. How are they making this happen? Draken versus Thomas.
Nades, no, not gonna score. Thomas is in hut. He's made all the noise. Draken walking back in with a deagle, and he does eventually find the round for ITB. But how close does that get? How have we lost 4 to 1 M4 and 2 deagles? How?
ITB getting a little overconfident, I guess. You know, they said, I said that a lot of their rounds, well, the 2 rounds that they did win, prior to that one, were won off the back of a little bit of mind games. They go into that one, they're like, anti-eco. And they go for a very straightforward push through lobby, onto the A site. And Endpoint, even with their inferior weaponry, are able to completely stem the tide. That is unreal. ITB still able to clutch it out in the end, but now they come into this. They come into not even a full buy, and instantly they lose one of their players and a second to follow up. ITB, what is happening?
Oh, it's just, yeah. It's not looking good now, is it? I think they may have been rocked a little bit after the last round. You know, you lose 4 of your 5 weapons. Who knows? "55 seconds, waiting for some movement here for ITB. Cypher out towards B certainly will give the chance back into this round here. The Knights decide to maybe move down and take B in general. For Endpoint, they're still convinced that there's some lobby possession and they want to try and fight that back first.
I mean, at the very least, ITB should be able to get this plant. So at least I'll have that going into the next. But Endpoint in a 4 versus 3. This is still very doable. Very low HP for ITB. They stick together, kind of deathball this a little bit, which it does seem like they're doing. They can realistically win out these duels. Maybe bring this round home as well. And just stop any thoughts of momentum for ITB. Draken will, however, get that first kill onto Surreal. Even out the numbers here.
Bomb taps not stuck, gonna force a fight. Draken will know they're not on it, and now the kills start to come in. Brilliantly done from ITB. 3v5 scenario. Still managed to win it out in their name, and the collateral damage, of course, forcing Endpoint onto pistols. It's promising. It's promising to tie the game. The stretch in front certainly can be there. Another pause, I'm guessing, for Endpoint again, as they probably want to talk things through as well and really discuss, well, how are we losing these rounds? Even when we're 2 kills ahead, even when it's a 5v3, we're still second best in these retakes. Our retakes are the issue. Let's fix that.
Yeah. I mean, Draken was someone I said needed to show up. He's doing a great job here in that round. I think he got 2 kills, which were instrumental in maintaining control of the site. He's 10 and 7 at the moment, so doing a really, really good job here. That's exactly what you need from your AWP player. And into the breach, 1 round away from evening out the scoreline. This is definitely a lot closer than what we'd seen on Ancient. And this is a great T-side start for Into the Breach, right? If they can get to maybe 5 or 6 rounds. I know Neo has a golden number on this map. It's 5 or 6.
Yeah.
Oh, man, that groan, you
always,
know. You heard
always
it.
says it, always. He's like, yeah, golden number, 5 or 6. That's because it's the normal, mate. It's the normal number. No, I'm only messing. He knows it's all love. But yeah, no, I think that has some level of seriousness to it, right? And the grey shot from Nertz just picks his shot nicely. Of course, if you get 6 rounds on the T side and then win the pistol, you're more or less tied up. Like, it's 9-all. Great! Another one from Nertz. Okay. Nerves starting to unsettle a little bit again here for ITB, because you're a 5v3 now at least, down to 4 here for Endpoint. But the fact that these pistols are pumping out some good damage and the bomb is in the middle of nowhere, ITB have to go and retrieve that.
And you know it's being babysat. Draken now has a huge task ahead of him here with this AWP. He's playing tip of the spear, which is absolutely ridiculous. But because they have so few players left, he's stuck in this position. Now, thankfully, Nertz has been taken off the board, so that is a massive issue for ITB, no longer in play. And that could potentially keep them alive just a little bit longer here, as you say, right? Trying to regain control of that bomb.
28 seconds on the clock in this round. MHL's position, they know no one's lobby. They've just got to have 2 things in mind, right? The fact that they could possibly go ramp, kill Mighty Max, go down to B. Or the fact that they go up heaven and then attack the A site. But they've overpopulated the upper side of the map for this reason. Max is removed, a second player gone. So this 10 seconds, time's going to be a massive issue, but Surreal can't nail the shot onto Adam. And ITB bailed out of another round unless Thomas can pull off a 5-7 masterclass. Draken will say no. 5-all.
That should have been an ITB round, all things considered. Nertz does a really good job of turning the tide at the start of the round, and you start to kind of wonder, you know, are ITB going to be able to bring it back? Will they be able to regain control of the bomb, particularly with some good crossfires set up? But they do manage to make it happen for themselves and secure a round, only losing the 2 players that Nertz was able to bring down. So finally, we're starting to see those signs of life. This has been a lot better. We're starting to see, of course, why this is their map pick, why they have been performing so well on it. And you said, right, a lot of the times when they play this map, it has been incredibly close. So I think it's to be expected that it's going to go a little bit back and forth here between these 2 teams. Now, we've got MHL with his AWP online as well. I'm very curious to see where they're going to post him up, because obviously there are quite a few different options, right? You can kind of leave him towards Squeaky, or rather Secret, you know, just in case they're going to try and go for the outside play. You could leave him up on the rafters to watch outside as well from a different angle. I'm quite partial to the ramp play, but a lot of teams seem to not enjoy pushing ramp. I can't imagine why. So I'll be curious to see where it is. And it looks like he's headed... Where's he at? There you go, up towards lobby.
Smokes towards outside. AWP's going to be blocked of all vision here, Mr. MHL. Rusty can have a look down in towards Secret. Cypher's here to join him. Only that. There's a third. Hold on. Is this all 5 players? It is. Endpoint.
Yep.
Going to have a hard task here, Mr. Nertz. I was going to say Endpoint are going to have a hard task stopping it. Cypher's just jumping all over the plot. Oh my word, Cypher. What a sick shot that is. On the run, Nertz deleted, down to 4 Endpoint. Thomas is caught out by Kai. Any more, he'll be asking. A molly to the left and to the right, forcing the AWP back. And Endpoint, they can't seem to hold a sight right now. Adam goes down eventually, but at the cost of 2 very important frags by Cypher. Endpoint don't budge, and it's probably a save.
I mean, we'd seen Nertz in that exact position a few rounds back get 2 kills for himself. So there's almost the expectation from ITB that he could be there. And of course, the jumping Ferrari swing from Cypher somehow rings true, and he's able to get that, you know, get Nertz off the board, get themselves in onto the site, get that bomb planted. And this was a really, really good round. And it was a far more aggressive, fast-paced round than, you know, what we had seen out of ITB in a lot of the previous rounds. So it's really good to see that they are playing a slightly more dynamic play style, making sure not to do the same things over and over so that they can keep Endpoint guessing as to what exactly their approach is going to be round after round. Solid round for them. They finally get themselves a lead in this first half for the first time, and they're not looking at stopping. This has been a phenomenal T-side for them. If they can get themselves another 2 rounds, if they can secure themselves a lead at the half, that CT side could be devastating.
So ITB have already met the mark. Now it's just about seeing how many rounds they can push forward and continue to grab a hold on. Surreal, being the hot play, he's had a pretty average game, 7-7. Can't hate it. Hoping, you know, ITB have had a lot of success from outside, that we were going to kind of gamble a little bit more here, Endpoint. So, Nert's not the man to go down this time. He's the man that starts Garage. It's MHL that walks down with the AWP, and I wouldn't be surprised if he wants to play face. Issue is, again, it's one of those where we're playing so passive, ITB can just chop and change the mid-round call. Adam, got to check the right-hand corner here. No one's gone looking. MHL finds you first. A molly drop back. Dobbo now can't overextend, and there you go. Nertz will pull the pin on the IGL Rifler. Nertz, a follow-up kill for the A1S as well. Draken going to try and swoop in and find the eventual trade, but even if it does come, it's at the cost of now a 2v4 that they've got to work back from.
Good change up from Endpoint in terms of... Oh my god, man!
What? How sick is that?
That's unreal.
Draken, nade, yeah, he's going to try and chuck it deep. MHL just needs to make sure he doesn't run into it, and he will survive. 3, of course, in the back pocket here for Endpoint in terms of players surviving, and they needed that. Financially, they were starting to look a little dry, so helps that they're able to pump some freshness back into the finances. Also, one thing though, ITB off the back of sort of the momentum that they've been establishing, it's another easy buy for them, and so Endpoint can't exactly sit pretty just yet.
That was a disgusting shot. I'm still stuck on that a little bit. Nice to see, as I was trying to say, Endpoint also kind of swapping up where they post up their players. ITB unsure of what to expect, unsure of where that AWP's going to be if it is on the field, unsure of, you know, who's going to be posted up towards Garage, towards outside. What is that exact positioning going to be? So ITB have to rethink how they push in. A little bit of noise made here towards outside. That could be on purpose, of course. As for now, that bomb is posturing in towards A site. There's a bit of pressure towards ramp. Cypher with a beautiful shot onto Thomas. That's going to open up a lot of space there. And it looks like they are going to push into that ramp position. Some Molotovs to create some space. But Endpoint still have a chance here to bring it back.
Well, unfortunately, that's not going to exactly enhance their odds. Adam and Draken both with kills. And, well, I think this is going to cook up to be another T-side round. I think, no, it happens. Going to save maybe these last 2 guns.
I mean, you mentioned it, right? Their economy is such a mess right now.
Yeah. You've got to. Like, Max can drop one, Surreal can maybe buy his own, so, you know, you're looking at maybe 4 rifles here. Someone's going to have to take the downgrade, but you're not going to complain. It's going to be 7 on the board, though, for ITB, and that's the point that we should be talking about a little bit more. T-side start has looked unbelievable here for the Knights.
Yeah, it's taken a little while for them to kind of hit their stride, but now that they have, you know, you mentioned it, the power of momentum can be will breaking, and that kind of feels like where Endpoint are right now, you know, possibly getting into their own heads a little bit, and that worries me for their T side. I mean, we saw a really strong T side from them on Ancient, so there's definitely the possibility of a resurgence here. The double AWP has come out for these last 2 rounds, not 4 rifles, 3 rifles, and an extra sniper. It could be the difference maker, or it could go horribly wrong. Surreal chipped all the way down to 2 HP. He's going to have to play a little bit more safe here as ITB start making their way across outside.
Straight down secret, 5 of them go. Oh. Great shot from MHL to kick things off in a smoke that actually stops them in their tracks. And nade to be sent through. 2 players now, 1 dinks to those M4s. Talk about how scary this gun is. Looks even scarier now over this ITB side. There's your first kill, though. Still 2 players tagged. Great shot from Dobbo. Nice reactions. There is a flanking player from Silo outside. Surreal able to pluck apart Rusty. Dobbo was removed from the AWP of Thomas. Now it's just Adam in the clutch here. Endpoint on for 7.
Definitely a necessary round for Endpoint.
Yeah.
This and the follow-up. And given what's going to happen to ITB's economy after this round, it should definitely be doable. I think ITB will still be all right. Obviously with Endpoint winning this one, ITB having won the previous, that means they're down to minimum loss bonus. So very little cash in bank for a lot of these players. They're going to have to do a little bit of swapping, chopping, and changing. There'll definitely be a bit of sacrifice of utility. But of course, with it only being the first half, and it is a pretty close scoreline, there is the chance for the resurgence into the second half. But this one is really, really important here, right? ITB, it's less important for them, I think, because they've already reached a point that is solid for a T side. But you want to make it that little bit more secure. But for Endpoint, on the other hand, moving on to their T side, this is going to be important. They need that little bit of extra buffer room. This plus the pistol is almost necessary.
Great shot. Thomas opens things up. Second leg. Cypher low. Rusty will follow suit as well. And the orbs are just going off and off and off. Big props to Mr. Ryan Randall, our observer for today. Literally didn't miss a kill, it felt like there. That was easy. And he continues. Okay, never mind. Sorry, man. It's the last one, the most impactful, though. That gives Endpoint number 8. And, of course, they leave heading into the halftime whistle. Can they close things out? Well, it's the T side of Nuke to try and give them the 2-0 if they can get things done. Or will ITB push us to a third? We'll find out after the break. Don't go anywhere.
Oh, no. Anxiety creeps up on me. Is this how it's supposed to feel? Tell me when it's over. I got someplace that I gotta be. It won't leave. My friends say, get out of your comfort zone. It's a blessing in disguise. Get out of what you call home. Your name is written in the sky. It might feel just like you're on your own, but baby, it's another lie. Remember, you were made. I try to work, but it doesn't work. I try to say something, but there's no word. I try to justify my actions, less reactions, heartbeat raising. Oh, it doesn't work.
Well, not quite the half that we'd been expecting. An 8-7 lead in favor of Endpoint. They do manage to squeak it out at the end there, Retro, but what are we feeling coming into the second half?
Yeah, just so you know, by the way, this isn't live. Someone's just crashed. So come back to us. Let's welcome everyone back in. Oh hi. Had to like readjust the chair because I think, you know, you just chill like this, and that's the issue, you know. When it's like, oh yeah, we'll go straight to the game after the break, and then they're like, whoa, back to cams. It's like you get caught lacking. Anyway, hello ladies and gents, welcome back. Let's talk about the first 15. Sam, I think I want to discuss a little bit more about ITB and how well they played on the T side. It was pretty impressive.
Please do. Yeah, I thought that. I thought coming into this with it being their map pick, they were going to have a decent showing. I thought that maybe it would be a slightly more one-sided first half for Endpoint to take some solid control, but ITB have certainly impressed me on their T side. I spoke a little bit about their dynamicism. I hope I said that right. I've struggled to brain today. But yes, they've done a really good job at kind of playing the mind game against Endpoint, and it's worked out fantastically. They've given themselves a solid start in the first half, and going into the second, moving on to that CT side, if they continue with the streak they've been on now, map 3, I mean, I'm calling it. I think we're going to head there.
Definitely does shape up to look that way, unless Endpoint, of course, can provide what I feel like is an ITB-esque first half. Like, ITB looked very in control, outside smokes were used very nicely, and, you know, at the turn of the half, the fact that this is, you know, a map that's merely separated by a single round, right? It's ITB that are down 7-8, but now it's their CT side. Like, Endpoint could pull off with the same, and if they do, then, you know, you've got to make arguments maybe that you know, it could end 2-0, but I do agree. I think this has a third map written all over it, and obviously when you turn to Mirage, it's not exactly the most rehearsed map by Endpoint, but both teams haven't had exactly the best track record on it, which actually leaves a lot more questions than it does answers.
Yeah, I mean, the third map is always an interesting one. It's a map that neither team feels strongly enough about that they have to ban it, but they don't feel strong enough to pick it. So it's always going to be kind of like a 50-50 floated through to the end, unless you have an unreal map pool, right? Like you're good at like 5 out of the 7 maps and you're insane. For the most part, it is going to be a little bit of a 50-50 flip. And then you take into consideration that it is Mirage. It's a map that a lot of teams know very well. And while they might not necessarily do well on it in officials, you know that they've played it ad infinitum over the last however many years. They understand this map. They know the lineups. They know what's required and what's necessary. And it really comes down to that aim-heavy duel taking. And I think that both of these two teams can succeed in that kind of scenario. So if we do get to the third map, it'll be really, really difficult to call. But we're going to be jumping back into our game now. Our players are back in lobby. A little bit of a disconnect came through there. Yes! Second half of Nuke in our semi-final between Into the Breach and Endpoint.
Let's see it happen. Can ITB put up a fight and start things on the right foot here on the CT side? Dobbo certainly does deliver some of that. It's the dualies that take down Thomas. Now, of course, 4v5. Endpoint have got to look for a way back in. Ultimately, a second death is not the way to go. MHL dropped. Max, Surreal, Nerds now left in the clutch.
I mean, if anyone can do it, Nerds has been an absolute standout. Nice to see the other Endpoint players also just kind of matching step as well. We spoke about kind of Mighty Max having a slower performance on Ancient. This time around, he's performing a lot better. They've really slowed things down here. You know, Bomb hasn't actually picked a direction yet. It's given ITB a lot of time to position, but also a lot of time to get neurotic. They're thinking it might be this outside push. So they are focusing their attentions here. Double swing comes out. The dualies come forward. Oh, there you go. Some great teamwork there. Great crossfire. Nerds in the clutch position. 1 versus 5. Can't get it done. Wow, really good round here for ITB.
Let's have a look. How do things go now for Endpoint? No bomb plant, no chance. At least in round number 17, which should ultimately, you know, put us into contention that ITB to take the lead, CT side, momentum, all of the stuff that we were talking about in the halftime break. Absolutely, we are moving forward, and maybe that thought is strengthened a little further. We'll see. Round 17 is a chance now for ITB to put some money in their pockets. You know, these MP9s, make some cash. It's the Draken at M4A1S to start things off, though. Still looking for something. Tapping away. Would have spotted the bomb in the meantime. Cypher is able to take lobby control. The second MP9 of Adam is caught Nerds. Draken, he gets his way in, and Adam finds the last. So there you go. ITB making some cash. More importantly, taking the lead.
And without losing a single player as well. So bonus round carries through. Cash is going to carry through. A little bit of a spend just to replenish what was lost. Utility armor, etc. But so far, looking good. Endpoint now, of course, going to be able to buy into this. So have a good position to turn things back into their favor. It's still early days on this T side, however. So we might not see that change in momentum come just yet.
See what Endpoint can do. You know, if this is a confident round and they win it convincingly, maybe I'll start to believe that Endpoint can make it a 2-0. But Rusty getting things off correctly with a FAMAS certainly does improve on the odds of ITB and their Nuke performance. Backing away as well with that kill, Rusty. 9 points of health. Great shot from Draken. Needs to stay alive. Does his part in damaging MHL as well. 5v3. If ITB can convert the bonus as well. Oh man, it's looking good, isn't it? The Knights are in shining armor right now. 4 kills make that. None for Endpoint. Could it be a flawless bonus? Dinked up. 4 points of health. Thomas, got to find something to deny. And ITB, what a response. What a follow-up.
You called it the flawless round. It's unreal.
4 AKs.
Yeah. It's a really, really impressive start to the CT side. I mean, I suppose we should have expected it, given how well they did on that T side. Sure, it took them a little bit of time to ramp up to get that momentum going for themselves. But to come through so strong on the T side on Nuke, we really should have expected that ITB were going to have a solid CT side. Forced Endpoint back down onto pistols, managed to upgrade a lot of their rifles just off of the dead bodies of their enemies. You know, it's kind of one of those like drink out of the skulls of my enemy moments. You know, take their weapons and kill them with their own weapons. It's a power play. Also, it's a better gun, but that's neither here nor there.
Wow. Nicely done. At least Max's trade with the Deagle has made it a little more worthwhile here for the eco of Endpoint. Great shot, adjusting. Very nicely done. Cypher. Removed. No AK picked up though for Endpoint, so they can't go and gun collect yet. I think they're trying to group up and head towards ramp. Draken lobs the nade in. Max has taken 3/5 of his HP merely just to the nade and delivers one fatal shot into the headpiece of Draken. Dobbo to line 2 up. Rusty will find the last, and ultimately that is the round of the board for ITB. But at least made a little bit expensive here for the CT side. Not that money is an issue right now.
I believe that those were the only 2 deaths for ITB. Because they had a flawless pistol, they had a flawless force, and a flawless bonus. So those were the first 2 deaths.
Was it a flawless pistol?
I'm sure it was.
Hold on.
I could be way off my head here. But I think so. Either way, it's an impressive streak for ITB. Now having to buy in a little bit. Oh my god, the aggression. It's Cypher trying to push out, manages to get one. He is traded up, but of course he spots out so many of the Endpoint players, and that's going to slow things down because now Endpoint have to restabilize.
You are correct, by the way. Nice
Thank you.
Thomas, Rusty removed. Adam now needs to step up, ideally for 2. I mean, he's got the first. No one wants to challenge him, so it is a 3v3. Left neutral at the minute 15 mark. Endpoint probably wondering what they want to be doing next, because this is an important round to get under their belts if they get it. 11-9, ITB's money starts to shrink a little bit. If the opposite happens and ITB are able to take this round, Financially, Endpoint drawn back down to pistols. It's going to be 13-8 by that point when they get the next buy. And that just becomes 10 times harder to get a grasp of.
Adam's slowly reversing out of there. Now there is, of course, Draken waiting on this B site for someone to push through. They do hear that util, so they are aware that ITB will be very, very close here. Endpoint have to play this so perfectly. They're trying to set up a crossfire as well, with Nerds moving around the other side. Draken's wise to it.
Door flung open. Warp on the angle. Dobbo sat towards double door as well, relying so heavily on his AWP, who's mollied off. Now Dobbo's got too many angles to hold, needs to find the headshots, can't even collect the first. Draken on the AWP, missed opportunity. Adam now, all eyes on you, good sir. M4 going to be rotating on in. Trying to peek in, there's your first of 3. Adam still creeping forward, spotting out. Surreal can't hit the shot. Draken, 9 points of health, no chance in the round. Save the big green. Endpoint get a 9th, but by the skin of their teeth. If Dobbo had found Nerds, this round was over. Endpoint, fortunate to be walking away with it. But, of course, it keeps them alive for a little bit longer.
That molly onto Draken was also super instrumental, right? Forces him off the angle and gives a lot of space for Endpoint to move in once they've planted that bomb. Creates so much space. And then they're able to kind of pivot off of that a little bit. So really well played there. Looked a little touch and go. But in the end, they will finally get around on the board here. It was round 5, and I tend to call that a momentum shifting round, right? It's one of those rounds where very often you will see things, you'll see the tides turn. And they've done a really good job of making that happen for themselves. Only a 2-round deficit here. So it's definitely doable for them. They just got to keep up that streak. ITB still looking alright with cash, yeah? Adam's in a bit of a tight spot, but if they can come out on top of this round, they'll be fine. If they lose this round, it's going to be rough.
Still all on the line, it feels like, for both parties. Can't exactly say that ITB are going to be walking away freely with a second. Still work to be done. For Thomas, certainly wants to make it hard here for the Knights. Cypher does get the trade. A second frag is crucial as Adam 9130 chimes in with another. AWP takes Nerds out. Max against 4. Max against them all. And ITB secure a 12th. Only the single death as well. That is a brilliant response. 4 away from taking us to a decider.
Endpoint definitely starting to feel the pressure here. More so, I think, than what they would have expected coming into this. I'm actually curious about the last finals between these two teams. Have they been really one-sided, or have there been, you know, some maps going the way of ITB?
There's been improvements. So the first grand final was 3-0 Endpoint. It was 16-4, 16-11, 16-8. Then the next grand final, it was 16-6, 16-10, 11-16, 16-13. So they won it 3-1.
Okay. Okay.
But as we've kind of discussed, right, even in spring 2022, which was the most recent event, the 3-1 victory in the grand finals, right? That was an ITB that had Joel and Smooya with standing in and no practice. So you would naturally expect these games to be a little closer, especially when Endpoint are obviously holding the standing of Thomas. And they are certainly giving them a run for their money here, aren't they, the Knights?
See if Endpoint can get a couple of kills here. Just some econ damage frags. Might help them out a little bit into the next round. Some solid posturing. Oh, dearie me. Just instantly Draken getting 2, followed up with another one. Or rather, traded out. Surreal will get 1. Jeez, man. The entirety of Endpoint just, like, collapsed in on themselves. It was a bit of an anti-eco. There were 2 rifles on there, but it's just unreal how quickly that fell apart.
So, I don't know. You've got to be somewhat convinced if you're an ITB fan that indeed this will be a 3rd. Indeed, Endpoint will be pushed the distance. But to be fair, as I said in the pre-game, and I think as both of us were kind of alluding to, if there was ever a chance for Endpoint to be dethroned, It would be against ITB. I mean, Surreal said it himself in the interview, but on top of that, it would be in a BO3, right? Because the last 2 times these guys faced was a BO5. And, you know, that just means mistakes can kind of be ironed out over time, and it's less time to act upon them, and you've got less opportunity to come back into a game.
And it's unreal to think of a final without Endpoint in it, right? We're not yet at that stage, but it's a distinct possibility. We won't get too overly excited just yet, however. Still have to get through this map. So far, so good for ITB. Adam has lost a little bit of HP early on. But they do have some very solid presence towards A, which is where that bomb is posturing to at the moment.
That's fine 1. ITB down to 3. Maybe we spoke a bit too soon to Endpoint's demise here on Nuke. Cypher could be shooting his teammate in the back there. Rusty caught a little bit off guard. Draken does hit the shot. Rusty baited into the fact that it's a B play, but by the looks of things, the majority of the forces are towards upper. And the Molotov cutting him off of circulation from the vent system means I think he will just be trying to save the AK. And it will be double digits for Endpoint.
Endpoint, not a team to go down without a fight. Really strong performance here. Good return. Only a 3-round deficit. Gonna hold on to 3 of their rifles as well, which is really important because even with winning rounds, you know, you want to make sure that you've got a little bit of a nest egg going into future rounds. ITB is a perfect example of that. Despite losing this round, they're still going to be perfectly fine into the next round. Lots of cash to play with for themselves. Beyond that, it could become a little bit problematic. But if they win the next round, they're on 14. So, you know, they're sitting in a good spot. Lose the next round, however, things start to get a little bit stressful as Endpoint bring the deficit down to 2. And at that point, ITB might be in a bit of a tough spot in terms of cash.
Chance for ITB to bounce back, though, once and for all. Close affairs here on our second map of the 3, and to think we could be going the distance, and to think could be another map after it does get you excited, but maybe Endpoint starting to feel a little bit rocked here. We'll find out. We'll find out soon. First kill goes Rusty's way, but look at this from Nerds. He's just bolted from outside in towards lower. Draken. What was I expected? Of course someone's holding that angle. The AWP this time has found the frag. 5v3. Endpoint down to the bare bones, down to the core, really, to try and put them back in business.
A bit of a disappointing round from Endpoint, I think. Tried to take a slightly more aggressive stance with Nerds. I mean, he has been phenomenal, but ITB are doing a good job at trying to shut him down. Gets himself into a good spot, theoretically, but unfortunately Draken's there waiting for him, and what could have been a round for Endpoint, what needed to be a round for Endpoint, now just kind of starts to fall apart again. And that long-term economy, MHL last one left alive. I mean, you know he's just going to try and hold on to this because look at that cash. They have so little into the next round. ITB, it kind of feels like they're playing with their food a little bit here.
I mean, they've done it the hard way. Certainly that's one way of putting it, right? It's like how many times they were able to like establish dominance and then they just lose an easy round that realistically probably the fault of like an overpeak or a complete oversight in the round or losing in the post plant, you know? Just one of these things that naturally happens. Ultimately, though, that is going to be a massive win for ITB because not only is this a 14th on the board? It is now one more round here. Endpoint have got in their locker financially, which would be quite sweet for them because if it's 15-10, it's going to be 16-10. One last chance here. ITB probably going to be an Endpoint timeout here just to talk things through before they jump into what could be their last full buy here of Nuke.
Oof. Rough thought. I mean, Ancient was such a good map for them. Went so well in their favor. And now, unfortunately, not going their way anymore. Were you readjusting your seat?
No, I was putting my wire behind me because I'm wearing blue. If I was wearing black, then it would just stay in front because you wouldn't see it. But I just, you know, just to make it look neat. But now I've had to out it, so just what was the point, you know? What was the point? Listen, I think for ITB now, this is pretty promising water, right? This is like one of those rounds where there's a lot on the line. If you win this round, you more than likely take Nuke. And to think that you're pushing Endpoint to a 3 map or in a BO3, I was just having a look into the history, right, between these two teams. Every single time that these guys have played, Endpoint have basically blasted them. You talk about 2 BO5s, right? In one BO5, they lost 3-0. In the other BO5, they lost 3-1. And then they played one BO3 against each other beforehand. Endpoint won 2-0. So ITB, this is as close as they're going to get to beating their UK counterparts.
Unless they actually do it, right? I mean, well, I feel like it's definitely doable. You know, we're coming through Nuke at the moment. It's looking very promising for ITB. Should be able to clutch it out towards the end. You never know. We could see some crazy resurgence here from Endpoint, especially off the back of a much-needed timeout. Might be able to patch the gaps, as it were, patch the cracks and turn this back around. It is only a 4-round deficit. It is doable, but it's going to take a lot. Agreed.
Endpoint just need the Hail Mary round to connect, right? You go for the Haymaker swing. It's knockout or be knocked out, it feels like, for this round here, for the context of Nuke. Not quite the series, of course, as Endpoint are up a map to none. I was maybe earlier on thinking this was the decider. No, don't worry. It might be coming next, and if it is, what a banger it'll be. Lots to talk about when it comes to Mirage as well, so certainly will be a fun one to have a chinwag about. If we do get there, though, of course, because as you said, this is probably not the most impossible of rounds for the Endpoint squad to be winning. If they do win the round, then they reintroduce themselves with a chance here on Nuke. Flashes, smokes, mollies, everything towards outside, but that doesn't stop Cypher finding the opening kill. He's got lobby control as well. It's devastating. Mighty Max will just find his way through ramp, although ITB, they haven't cleared this angle, but they haven't exactly accounted for it either. So this could be an AWP death from outside. Draken did find Surreal, but Max will be beckoning up the troops in just a second if he can find this frag. Spotted out Draken. There's one. There's a second kill as well because MHL's AWP has claimed another. And now, could this be an oversight? Could this be ITB's downfall? Adam walks into the crosshair of Nerds, who's able to slip away. But Dobbo hot on the heels, finding both kills. Getting so fortunate in the lineup. A Mighty Max against 2. And a heroic flank to take down the AWP requires to go nuclear here in round 25 to keep Endpoint alive. There's his first. Needs to pick up the bomb. Still yet to scoop it up. Now he will. But Dobbo wants to make his presence known from outside as he swings in towards main. He's able to take down the IGL. 15-10. Map point ITB.
Man, that was so close. If that weird transfer doesn't come through, I think Endpoint have such a good chance of clutching that one out. There it is again. Nasty. Oh. Well, there you have it, folks. Match point for ITB. Endpoint still able to at least buy rifles, but they do have to sacrifice a lot of util, a head armor here. ITB want to close this one out. And it would be unreal if Endpoint were able to come out alive on top of this round. But with MHL losing so much HP very early on in the round, that's not the end of the world. It's definitely something you can work around, but it doesn't bode well.
Certainly not. Adam just playing the pixel angle, obviously holding the smoke, so as soon as he sees the colours change, he's just going to let that one go, and you can see Nerds, as soon as he turns his corner, bang, smoke drops. Nerds tries to chase down the frag, but Adam reverse engineers his own smoke grenade. Rusty trying to fight for his life. A molly to his left, forced out into the right and into the open, and he tries to go for the fight. A brave man to stick around. Survived though. Just feels impossible. Rusty, he even tries to reattempt the engagement. Will fall. Cypher finding the trade. 3v3, 50 seconds left. Bomb still in the pockets of Mighty Max as they head towards A. And Cypher's on the back of the side. Needs to lock out a couple more, but he's not good for anything. Draken, Dobbo in the clutch.
Retaking with an AWP can be so difficult, but it's Draken and he's come online. And that's going to bring the numbers back down to 2 versus 2. His position is known. Needs to play this carefully. Spams through the door. Almost could. Oh, he's still going for it. He's trying. It's not quite connecting. No, through the hole, through the door. MHL gets the return. And it's Surreal to finish it out. That was so close. But Endpoint, they give themselves a stay of execution.
The deficit still at 4. Still at large, though, for ITB to be winning this map. For all intents and purposes, that is as close as you'd like it to be for Endpoint. 2v2 in the post plant, both players tagged, both ITB players at full HP. Still map point. The conditions haven't changed for ITB. They're still 1 away from taking us to a decider. I will say one thing, though, and that is it's not impossible for Endpoint to get back into this one. Especially considering ITB on an eco here. That's 15-12. They take a 4-buy. 15-13, they have to take another eco, 15-14. So they have 2 more buys before we go to OT. And the first comes in the next round, not in this one.
Endpoint still have an uphill battle ahead of them here. Which feels so weird to say when you see that they're on such a massive anti-eco, but ITB have really been putting some spokes in this. Spokes? Spanners? I don't know, some sort of tool. I ain't a mechanic.
I'm not either.
Yeah.
I think that was a bit of a given, but...
Given that we're casters, yeah, fair enough.
Can never be too sure, can never be too sure.
Yeah. Worth mentioning, I suppose. Just in case anyone was confused.
I like this from Draken and Dobbo. The old totem pole boost. Cypher's just going to be keeping the eager eye towards the CT side of ramp, just because Endpoint can wrap it. Cypher decides to move in towards lobby, though, and this could be a chance, because... Okay, never mind. I was going to say, if ITB kind of like go towards lobby, it would hurt massively. Endpoint have the entirety of the A site. ITB gamble towards B. Oh, guys. Unlucky. Wrong gamble.
Wee. Rough.
And imagine that was towards A, though. Imagine they gambled correctly. You know?
There is a universe, but it's not this one.
There were 20 seconds left, by the way, when they started to try and plant the bomb. It could have been scary, but there you have it. Right, it's looking pretty decent now here. Rusty. Let's get one. I don't think the gun is retrievable, though, and of course that's just going to hurt a little bit.
But they grabbed it. Draken's got it.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
I don't know how I missed that. Just maybe assumed it was a massive deagle. I don't know.
Massive, oddly shaped deagle, yes.
It's the deagle with camo on it.
Alright, ITV. Can buy in now. Gotta close this out if you want to get to map 3. If you want to stay alive in this semi-final. Nab that spot in the grand final. Deny Endpoint an 8th appearance in the grand final. Never mind an 8th win. This could be huge for ESL Prem. But we gotta get through this round first.
Yeah, you know, no point thinking about that one too deeply just yet, because there's plenty of rounds ahead of us, even if ITB are to win this single round, right? There's still the race for 16 out of Mirage. We'll see. Dobbo, I mean, lobby control. That is savage, by the way. ITB, in the first 30 seconds of the round, have access to everything towards the inner part of the map. So they know Endpoint have put all of their resources towards outside. That's why there's a double stack towards lower. ITB haven't acted upon this, but there's a flank from outside. Dobbo is hunting from behind. I think there's a man out on silo as well. Nerds wanders in, but Adam doesn't collect the kill. Instead, MHL finds one with the AWP. And now all of a sudden, Rusty on silo can't collect anything. This round looks so good for ITB at one point. They knew where Endpoint were heading. It's a great HE placement. But ultimately, a 3v4. Draken continues to move on in, and Surreal hits the shot. Doesn't expect the peek from left to right. Nerds will nail Rusty. Cypher 1v4. How does this round go so pear-shaped for Into the Breach?
Oh. I was saying that I felt like ITB were playing with their food a little. Maybe that's what Endpoint's been doing. It's a bit late to, you know, start the devouring process. But we might just head into overtime here. ITB have one more chance to properly close this out for themselves without it going into overtime. Endpoint should win this round, which will bring us to 15-14, and then ITB will be able to buy in, and that is the last chance to close it out without the overtime. So Endpoint, still, the pressure remains. It's still heavily on their shoulders. That's, of course, assuming ITB don't somehow pull out the craziest pistol round right now.
Deagles, you know, there you go, Deagles, I was going to say. If there's ever any pistol that can do the damage, it would be them. There's your first. 4 more to go, please. Dobbo. In an ideal world, we'll only isolate a single fight. Nertz taking his engagement. Dobbo's got to be careful for his life because staying alive on ramp is more important than finding the damage as Adam 9130. Punctual. A second frag. Thomas heads down towards B. There's a double stack towards double door. As Endpoint's remaining forces try to gather up. Surreal, gotta be careful. Taking the fight. Can't afford to lose his head. Punctual on the rotates here, ITB. They found themselves a bit more damage. A tap of the bomb, not the stick. And a third kill. A fourth. Oh, no way are the Deagles going to make this work. Thomas, he is fighting his ground here, Thomas. But ITB on an eco will take us to a third and final map. Despite them having rifles, it does not matter. It's Desert Eagles that give ourselves Mirage, give ourselves a 3-map affair, and give ITB a fighting chance of defeating 7-time champions of back-to-back dominance. Endpoint CEX. Ladies and gents, we're going to head to a break. When we are back, a decider between the Knights and the Kings. We're back after this.